Thank you, Your Honor. And just for clarity's sake, for the record, upon looking at my copy, the supplemental report that was handed to Mr. Warwick was written and dated at the top for June 20th, 2020. But defense counsel is correct that the interview did occur on the 3rd of June of 2020.
No questions, Judge, at this point.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed, Mr. Wicks.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Warwick, having had a chance to review that paragraph, did it refresh your recollection?
Yes, it did.
Could you please explain to the jury, what was it that you told Detective Hermosillo in June of 2020 about Chad?
I was really angry that he called Melanie and told her not to talk to the police
Why were you angry?
because when someone makes a call like that, there's something wrong. And I had no idea what was going on. My mom had just I was on the phone with my mother because she just got diagnosed with cancer. And so I was on my way over to.
Judge, objection,
Sorry.
Hold on. What's the grounds?
relevance.
Overruled. You can continue, Mr. Warwick.
Here's the relevance. I was on the phone with a broken down mother trying to get to her. Melanie's on the phone with Chad. And then when we both got off the phone, Melanie was really quiet. And I could tell she was really upset. So I just asked her, I said, what's going on? She
Judge,
said,
objection calls for hearsay.
Yeah, this invites hearsay sustained.
Do you happen to recall anything else that you told to Detective Hermosillo in that interview about your feelings about Chad?
yes,
What else do you recall?
that he was manipulative.
Can you explain what you meant to Detective Hermosillo when you used the word manipulative?
Like, he gets people's confidence, and then he uses that confidence for his favor.
So I'm going to invite you to explain to the jury and reconcile how you can your statements that Chad was kind and humble and meek, but you also think he's manipulative.
Yeah, because all my interactions with Chad were kind, humble, and meek. It was that situation that happened much later. I just wasn't in that time frame. So that's when I saw a different Chad.
What was that different Chad? Describe that different Chad.
To call and tell somebody, literally tell them not to take the call with a very authoritative voice.
When you said authoritative voice, did you hear him on the phone?
No, I didn't. I just, after Melanie shared with me what the call had just happened.
You were asked about the reason behind your marriage with Melanie. You remember that question from the defense counsel?
Yes.
Why is it that you married Melanie?
Why is it?
Hmm.
Because she's a wonderful, wonderful woman, and she was very good with my Down syndrome boy and with all my children, and we're very compatible on many things.
Is there any question in your mind that the two of you have a loving relationship?
No.
And in fact, it was suggested that perhaps your marriage was to avoid testifying against each other. Do you recall that?
I'm going to object.
Yes.
And I think I got the objection in time, Judge.
Yes, grounds.
But it's leading.
Judge, I'm just,
Overruled. You can answer.
Well, repeat.
Your Honor, could we ask Madam Reporter to repeat that? I want to make sure that I did it correctly, if she'd be kind enough to do so.
You may. Okay. And I'm going to repeat that for the record. The last question was, and in fact, it was suggested that perhaps your marriage was to avoid testifying against each other. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
Have you ever been charged with any type of criminal charge related to this case in any way?
No.
Your Honor, may I have permission to approach on one last topic?
Approach the court?
Yes, sir.
Sidebar?
If we may, yes.
Very well. You can continue, Mr. Wixon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Warwick, you were asked some questions by the defense about this meeting that you had with Chad whenever it occurred that weekend. Do you recall those questions?
Yes.
And in fact, part of those conversations involved his relationship with Tammy, his wife.
Yes.
Do you recall whether or not Mr. Daybell ever indicated to you the status of Tammy's health?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said that she was healthy.
And was that in relationship to let me withdraw that. Give us the context of how he explained to you that she was healthy, please.
I was asking him about his marriage, about what kind of wife and mother, and then he told me that she was going to be passing because was given a dream or a vision that she was going to be passing. And then I asked him about her health, and he said she was healthy.
Thank you. Then last couple of questions, Mr. Warwick. Without intending to be facetious, have any of your own personal visions or spiritual experiences ever led you to think that you personally have any kind of superpowers?
No.
Have they in any way caused you to feel like you have some prominent position in whatever you believe the last days events are?
No.
Have any of your visions or personal experiences ever revealed to you propriety or a way of dealing with people that you believe are possessed?
No.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wixon.
Judge, I think there's now some recross.
Briefly, Mr. Pryor.
So this discussion about Tammy's health, that's the same discussion that took place supposedly on the Saturday between times you were at the seminar for the Firm Foundation, right?
That'd be the best of my recollection, yes.
And Chad mentioned to you during that so-called Saturday visit that Tammy would be passing sometime in the future, right?
Yes.
And you were aware that Chad had made that revelation well before he ever met Lori Vallow, right?
I heard that he had, but I'd never heard it before.
And what I'm having some difficulty with is that he's telling you that his wife is going to be passing sometime in the future, and yet he also tells you contradictory information suggesting that she's just healthy as can be, right?
I don't know if it's contradictory, but
Okay.
saying yes.
Okay. Now, the prosecutor asked you, you've never been charged with a criminal charge, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. But the day and the evening or the morning that J.J. Vallow was murdered, you and your wife were at Lori Vallow's condominium that night, right?
Yes.
Nothing else, Judge.
All right. That'll conclude testimony then of Mr. Warwick. Is the state intending any recall of the witness?
At this time, we would release Mr. Warwick from the state's perspective.
Mr. Pryor, would the defense have any intention to recall this witness?
Judge, he's under subpoena, and depending on what testimony comes forward in the future, we'll have to make that decision. So we'd like him to be remain under subpoena at this point.
All right. Mr. Warwick, then you're still subject to the court's exclusionary order in this case. You may be recalled since you're under subpoena from the defense, so you're not permitted to watch any trial testimony or discuss your testimony with anyone else until that time. All right?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You can go ahead and step down, and then we'll have another witness called once the state's ready.